Hey y'all, Jack Fleming here, Jack Fleming Artistry. I ended up with a little bit of extra time in the studio here today to do some practice work. Figured I'd just do kind of a real-time pinstriping practice design. The way that I'm working nowadays, if I'm doing practice, it's a practice panel. I cut this panel, it's 10 by 13. The reason I cut it to 10 by 13 is I got a frame here. It's also 10 by 13. I practice, hopefully it turns out good. If it does, I'll put it on the frame and then maybe it'll be up for sale, auction, something like that. But again, figured I'd show you guys what I'm doing here practice wise. I've got an easel that I put just a piece of wood on. I take it off when I do canvas paintings and stuff. I've taped another piece of wood to the bottom. I had one before that was glued. Had one that was nailed. I like the tape because if I have to put like paper or something, it can't slide down in that crack, so I've taped that seam. It's easy enough. I'm gonna go ahead and clean a brush and get going and we'll walk through this. Show you guys real quick what I'm gonna do here with color. Got a Dixie cup. I'm gonna try and walk you guys through what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do blue for this. And I'm kind of thinking I'll do this practice piece in a couple of sittings. So I got just a little bit of blue down in there. I'm gonna dull this out just a little bit with some vermilion. It's kind of on the orange side, but also kind of on the red side, so it's probably gonna make it a little bit leaning towards a purple. But yeah, I'm gonna try and do this in a couple of sittings. That way, I don't have a lot of time right now, but I can do one color right now and let it sit, and next time I get some time do another color. And I'm going to try something I haven't tried before. It's become kind of a grayish, a little bit darker blue, still show up. You know, I want it to be a little lighter. I'm going to add a little bit of gray to it, this kind of lighter gray. That should chalk it out a hair, but also lighten it up. Who knows, I might add more than that to it. My thought is right now, I want it to be kind of on the darker side because I'm going to build lighter colors on top of it. And I also want it to be kind of dull. So I'm not using white to lighten it, I'm using gray. It's probably going to lighten it just as much as it would with white, but I'm hoping it stays kind of muted, because I'll come back with a brighter blue next time. Seems a little lighter to me. I don't know if you guys can tell. Might still be a little too dark. Let's add some more. This is how I end up mixing up too much paint most of the time, but it's all right. I guess the theory behind this right now, I want my darkest color to the back. I'll put a middle color on next time, and I think I want to shoot for 3 colors on this. My lightest color will be on top so that there's depth to it. Dark colors recede on black. Bright and light colors come at you. All right, this is practice time for me. I'm gonna tilt this here a little bit. Sorry about the angle for y'all, but I need to be able to see what I'm doing. So if I don't like it, I'm gonna wipe it. Not real worried about it. But I'm trying some things I haven't tried before. Reason being, I wouldn't say I haven't tried before, but haven't tried in a while. The reason for that is I was starting to get kind of tired of the designs I was making. Or feeling like I was doing the same moves too many times. Starting the same way. I did a panel not too long ago where I practiced a whole bunch of different moves. I've seen something that I've noticed in other people's work that's not usually the approach that I have to design. And it might not actually be these people's approach, but I thought, you know, it's different. I think I'm going to try that, and that's this idea of here's my center line, and rather than making a center mark to come off of, I'm going to kind of leave that center part open, but I'm going to work almost like a zigzag down one side and down the other, And then with the next color, it'll come and it'll just break stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if it works out. Might not. I might hate every minute of it. I drew a grid on this panel. Sorry if I pause while I pull a line. I don't like how that line is right there. It's got a little bump in it, so I'm going to go over it and try to clean it up. Anyhow, what I was saying, I drew a grid just using the width of my ruler. Just to make a fast and simple grid. I'm just fattening this side up because the other line was a little fatter. Keep that symmetry going. Fix stuff if you need to fix stuff. I don't normally use a grid. Again, just messing with stuff that I don't normally mess with. I'm gonna look straight across here, and I started that on that line, so I'm starting this one on this line. About where that one is. Sitting down there, that's my stool scooting across. I don't really like sitting so much. I'm used to standing. I always get people offer me whenever I'm in their shops a seat. And I'm pretty used to not having a seat. Come back and clean up that connection point. It's one thing, see a lot of beginners leave ugly connection points. It's all right, it's part of learning. Take the time and clean them up. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a little straighter than that one is. We can kind of fix it. It's a little thinner out here on the edge too. Start on that top side of that. They're not perfect, but again, they're hand painted. So this idea that I have is we're going to kind of zigzag in and out here. So I think this time we're coming in. I come down to that line. I don't know, maybe I should have came in farther. Maybe I will. Let it come up a little bit too. Makes a different shape than what I'm used to. I've got to adjust this camera stuff here. Give me a second. It's important to work at a comfortable angle so that you don't hurt your back. I just moved my canvas up higher, or my panel up higher here, so that I can stand without hunching over. Make this mark come in where I think that other one came in. Okay, seems a little wider there than it does up here. A little more curved to start off with, so I'll just fatten that up a little bit. And I might need to fatten this little bitty inside part of this up just a hair. There we go. Every time you see me take the brush away, I'm piloting my brush. Probably edited it out, but I'm trying to show you guys real time here. Now that I did that coming up, it limits me. I want to go out, but I can't, but I can curve out. Let's try that. I may completely hate this one when it's done. And wipe it off, who knows? Don't know until you put it down. I'm using one-shot paint. You might have saw my tubes there that I've put my paint into. Still one shot, comes in the can. I get the PET bottles, transfer my paint to those. I'm reducing my paint with a little mixture that I have here of what is it? It's high temp reducer and ChromaFlow. About 50-50. I've not made a video where I'm explaining stuff while I'm painting, so kind of getting used to that. My line here closed up quicker than that one did, so I'm going to close this one up a little quicker by fattening up that bottom part and then fattening up that top part a little bit. Come on, close up where I want you to. Again, trying to help that symmetry. I can come over here on the other side and clean that corner up to perfection and add a little bit of width to this so it looks more like the other side. And I'm going to add a little bit of width to this one on the bottom. Fine tuning. Part of this comes from the fact that I haven't been standing like this to stripe in a while. Getting used to it again. Mostly hunched over on cars or motorcycles. Alright, so this has come back in a little bit. I think I'm going to blunt the end of this a little bit. Okay, this one's kind of blunt. Kind of figure stuff out. I don't want to keep going in and out like a Christmas tree. So maybe this time we do something that curves. Of course, I feel like if I do that, I'm leaving a big hole in the middle here. Maybe. I don't know. This is part of trying the kind of design work that I'm not used to. I don't know what I'm doing here. And maybe I should just keep it super simple because I'm going to add other colors. I think this up curve that I did here kind of shot me in the foot on this, so let's come out and curve it some. Fatten up the first part of that because it got fatter as I went along. Okay, I'm looking at where this grid line is. I don't even know if you can see those, but I went past it a little bit before I curved. So when I come out here, I'm going to go past that a little bit before I curve and then curve back. So spinning that brush to make that curve. They're not exactly the same. I have a tendency to pull flatter on the right side than the left. So a lot of times when I'm working on a car, I'll draw the line on the outside over there. But since I'm practicing, I don't want to do that because I want to get better at that. I think I'm going to do something a little different here. We're going to make sort of an S curve in here. Kind of wish I'd have made that narrower, but I'm going to roll with it. Just repeat the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to be spinning that brush quite a bit, so I already start with it turned the direction that line's starting with. And then spin, pull it out as I do. Spin it back the other way a lot. I think these tips could be cleaned up just a little. Somebody else out there might say that I spend too much time worrying about little things like that, but it makes me happy. If it makes me happy, I don't know how much I care what they think. All right. Man, I almost want to do a crossover deal, which is something I don't do a lot of either. But I feel like if I do that, I'm leaving a interesting area there that I don't know that I want. Maybe if I come in, I can come back down. Ooh, that's going to make a shape that I've never made, I don't think. Let's go for it. I'm going to come in almost to the point where those ones came together. I think I want to mimic that distance. We're going to come in a little more. Okay. Do the other side of that. I usually make a lot of designs where I have curves and then something breaking through that curve, and that's what I'm kind of have gotten in a rut of doing, and I'm trying not to do that on this one. It's a kind of shape that I really like in designs because it's contrast, right? Something linear, that kind of deal like that contrasted with a big fat curve. I'm going to look to it negative spaces. So there's a negative shape in here, but I want to make an interesting negative shape out here. Maybe one that even mimics that. We'll see what happens. Might be, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something like this instead. We're going to try and make the center a little more interesting. Watching this video, maybe me talking out loud gives you an idea of what's going through my mind. Maybe you make designs and you think the same way. It might make you feel less like a weirdo. Or maybe it's making me more of a weirdo. My thought here was to have something small and angular, since I just did something kind of big and somewhat swoopy. Same fatness, there we go. So I've got this big kind of shape here and then something little to break it. And I think I'm going to mimic this a little bit, but I'm going to come way loopy with it if I can. Oh, what if I loop somewhat around this shape? That's kind of interesting. It got a little wonky there. I'm not one to shy away from turning my panel. It's a panel. I've heard people say stuff like, you can't turn the car. Well, I can turn myself usually around the car, the same sort of thing. And the other thing is I'm not painting a car right now. I'm painting a panel. It's probably going to be a way more elaborate design than if I was painting a car. Kind of like that. I think I even might want it to come up a little more. Maybe it's too much. But it looks like there's a fuzzy on my deal there. Let's go all the way up to this line. Let that come into it. Clean up that spot where they come together. Alright. I said I wasn't going to draw stuff off, but with that being as curvy as it is, I think I'm safe to kind of sketch it out first. Every now and then I'll do a panel or something where I'll completely sketch out the design, and I'll take time and I'll erase stuff, try things out in pencil first. It's always an experiment, and I always come up with something a little different than what I would normally come up with, that I'm usually really, really pleased with. So let's see if we can twist the brush enough to make that happen. If not, we can do it in 2 deals. I'm going to twist it as much as I can. I couldn't get it. I wanted to, but it didn't come. I'm not going to push it and end up making a mark I've got to erase. It's a waste of time. Just go ahead and start from the other end of it. I feel like talking while I'm doing this. I sound like Bob Ross of Pinstriping or something. I don't know if you guys have watched my friend Freddie's channel. He kind of does his videos like this where he talks while he's making moves. He reminds me of the Bob Ross of Pinstriping. Hopefully he sees this and hears that. I'm sure he'll chuckle. If you're not familiar, him and I have a podcast together. It is the Pinstripers Podcast. The whole idea behind it was to interview different pinstripers that we really look up to and kind of get their take on the history of pinstriping. I kind of feel like I want to come up and do something similar to what I did there because it'll be easy. I think I will do a crossover this time. So I think what I'm going to do is come into about here. I had intended on having no crossovers in this, but it seems like it's what this design is dictating. Guess that's part of the hippy-dippiness of art sometimes, is going with your feeling on stuff. I feel like this will work better. Gonna go with it. Trying to be attuned, I guess, to what the design needs. It is not pre-planned. I mean, I pre-planned the fact that I wanted to do this kind of zigzag in and out thing, but had no clue what I wanted the design to look like. I would encourage y'all to look at and study the designs of other pinstripers, of people. See what you like, see what you don't like that people do. Some of my favorite pinstripers make designs that I do not like certain elements of. And I look at it and I think, you know, don't care for that part. I don't want to do that or repeat anything like that in my stuff. And then sometimes I do anyways. So I don't think you can be too predetermined. I do not like the edge on that, and because I don't like it, I'll wipe it off. Another thing, if you don't like something enough to where you wish it didn't exist, eradicate it, make it not exist. Almost cleaned it up enough just with the rag to make it look like what I want it to. It was just looking a little crude there. Let that dry for a second. Sometimes I'll blow on the solvent, hope that it makes it go away a little quicker. I don't know if it does. I'm gonna turn this, try and clean that up a little. There's a little bit of jaggedness to this that I just don't like. Man, I really envy some people's lines. It seems like there's just such a smoothness to them. Some days it seems to work, it just kind of comes out of the brush smooth, and other days it seems to be a fight. I think musicians I've heard say similar things. Some days the instrument almost plays itself. All right, you know, that line's really fat there and this one's not, so again, fatten it up a little. And thinking doing this crossover, I don't know if I want to go small with it or if I want to go big with it. And looking at the way these shapes are right now, I think I eventually want to have something that comes way down here. So maybe put some marks here. Maybe I can have something that comes over and then they come out. You know, looking at that, I just don't know. I don't know if I want to do a crossover. Try and plan it out a little here. I don't do a lot of crossovers. I think I'm intimidated to do the crossover, and if that's the case, I just need to do it. Like doing crossovers sometimes, but I don't think I'm going to cross back. When I do this, I'm really looking at negative spaces. What I mean by that is I'm really looking at the shape between here and here. Now this one's a little fatter than that one, I know that. I'm actually going to fatten this line up just a hair, but I want to fatten it up on the outside. It's going to take up some of that. And help balance it out just a hair there. Okay, I'm going to do something else that I can't do on a car. I'll flip that over. And my ending points are a little pointier than I want them to be. So I'm going to come here and make them a little more blunt. Run the risk of messing up my line, but oh well. Again, if I don't like it, I'll wipe it off. I must have stuck my finger in the paint because I got a little sticky piece of paint there. All right, let's go back to this and see. I think I've committed myself to really wanting a line coming out here. So I'm gonna come, this might ruin this, I don't know. Here, and in, over here. That paint almost feels a little overly reduced. Palette it out. If your paint's over reduced, here I'll show you. On my palette, you can come and palette outside of where you paletted before, and it kind of pulls some of that out, allows it to thicken back up some. Okay. The thinner the paint is, the wider that line's going to be until you get to the point where you lose control of it. All right. Now to do what I've been feeling I really wanted to do, and that's, I hope I can do it well. Come way out, curve it back. And I think I might draw that off for the other one. Looking at some marks where it's probably going to come through. This grid line, again, is kind of helping me out, right? I don't really need to draw the whole line out. Those little tick marks could have been enough, but why not? Palette my brush again. Pull this side of that. You know, I think some of the people that I look at their work and it feels like it has this in and out thing, they've got a lot bigger shapes. I've really kind of tightened mine up a lot. I don't know that I'm liking it. But I think I'll finish it. I don't dislike it enough to get rid of it. Again, the line width on this wasn't the same as that, so I'm kind of fixing them up. Well, I don't want to repeat that again and look silly. What I really want to do is come out here and then cross back over, but I'm trying not to do what I normally do. So we're going to do I don't know. Man, I had an idea there for a second. I might totally hate this. Then again, I might not. I don't know. I was watching another video that somebody made about lettering recently, and they made the comment when you get ready to pull a stroke with the brush, that you kind of line it up like you'd line up a pool shot, commit to it, and then set it down and go. I like that analogy because I think it's very true. Kind of hover the brush in place, thinking, all right, this is where we're going to start, and this is how I'm going to pull it, and then go ahead and let it down and pull it. So now I've put myself into a spot here where this seems to be getting busier and tighter, and I've got that big empty spot there. So maybe I can make a big empty spot down here somehow. Let's repeat this in a way. Palette. That line's really thin because the paint on the brush was drier than it was when I pulled the previous line. Palette it to freshen it back up there. So if I get busy here, then maybe I can find a way to open that back up. Leave a wider negative space. Let's go the opposite curve of the last part. This design seems very pointy to me. Not always a fan of really pointy designs. And that might be the job of the next color, is trying to save it from being too pointy. Kind of reminds me of the makeup of the guys from Kiss. But again, I had a big empty spot there, so I'm trying to figure out a way to make a big empty spot here. I think I'll leave it open. I almost want to make that just come to a point. I think I will. I think I'm going to pull that over a little bit more if I do. There's something on my board there. Kind of look like dust, but I know if I hit that with this brush, it'll end up making the line goofy. Don't like the way that is. Flip it over, fix it. Much easier to do upside down. Sort of giving the brush a little bit of wiggle there to get it to be the kind of point that I wanted. You know what, while I got it upside down, I'll just go ahead and fix these here. And I'll flip it over to fix the other one. It's an interesting design. It's definitely different than what I'm used to. I feel like I've got some curvature up here that I don't have down here. But maybe it's repeated right there, so it might be okay. With the next color that I do, we'll probably end up changing that. Trying to add something more like that shape to the bottom. get afraid with shapes like that sometimes too, that they end up looking like eyes. All right, I'm gonna call that done with this color. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put a border on it just because we're taking that color, putting it to the outside, and for time and ease sake, I'm gonna take this and put it on my drawing table and do it laying down, or with it laying down. A little bit of a goofy camera angle here and trying to fight that light, but I got room where I can put this in here so you can see me palette. And what I'm going to do is, actually since this is metal, I kind of want to run my finger along the edge without having to worry about slicing a little cut in it. I'm just going to put a piece of tape on that finger. We'll use that one. Got the stool in my way. Move that. All right. Again, something filthy on there. I think it's from that drawing board. That, not even touching the edge with that finger I taped up. But you know what? I just realized this is going in a frame. So I'm going to take that off because it may be too close to the edge of the frame. Something to take into consideration. When putting something in a frame, sometimes the thing to do, put the frame over it, figure out about where it's going to be, take my pencil, go ahead and draw a line so I know how much overlap the frame has, and then I want to be inside of that with my line. Now we can do it over again. Dirt. I think that dirt dust stuff that I was getting on here was from that frame. I'm going to come in a little ways. Right now I'm looking at that white line that I drew, trying to stay parallel to it. Keeping the same distance all the way down. Oh, I just noticed that we were off the camera when I did that. Let me get this frame out of the way. Scoot over here for y'all. All right. I pull long lines. I have 3 fingers down for stability. I've got that brush clenched in between my index and thumb, but at a length where it's about as long as my middle finger is. So it's almost like another finger. Let me come fix this one real quick. Got a glare right on my paint line, making it hard for me to see what I was doing. I don't like the lighting setup in the studio at the moment. I want to change it. But we just got finished with Christmas, so not a lot of extra funds to go and buy new lights. I don't stop my breathing when I pull a line, but I often slow down a little bit. I've heard some people before make comment, oh, but you gotta hold your breath to do that. No, I think if I held my breath whenever I let it out, if I was still pulling a line, it would probably mess me up, but kind of gasp for breath. I guess you could say I focused my breathing a little more. Some noise outside the studio right now because we got a storm going on. The wind keeps blowing stuff against the window. Make sure y'all can see this. Almost sounds like whenever we get ice or hail. So there's a possibility. Happens here a lot where we're at in Texas. First time I remember driving through Texas before I lived here. It was about, I guess it was around this time of year. It was January. And there was an ice storm. And I remember not liking it because I was driving a moving truck. Or we were in a moving truck. I don't know if I was driving or not. Anyhow, we got a room, woke up the next day and there was ice everywhere. When we got on the freeway, all the trucks the size of the one that we were seemed to be all flipped over and run off the sides of the road. So, be careful if you don't know how to drive in it. Okay, that line's a little fatter up there towards the top, so I'm going to drag that out a little better. Longer transition on the rest of that line. I'm going to leave this alone and come back to it another day when it's dry and I've got a little bit more time and add another color to it and see how it turns out. Right now I feel like we're really close on the bottom and I'd rather be closer on the top. So maybe with the next color, I'll start above it and come down and we'll find ways to intersect all of these lines with something that's brighter and lighter. With the new year, I kind of decided to abandon some things I was doing with the YouTube channel and try some other things out. And just like I'm trying out some different design techniques on this, I'm also trying out some different stuff on the channel here. If you like the format of this with me kind of talking while I'm working, let me know if you want me to do more videos like that. If you don't like it and it's too much talking or something, let me know that too. Trying to make stuff that's helpful. I came to a realization that towards the end of last year, I was making videos that I didn't find were helpful videos. I found that they were more like show and tell. You know, here's what I'm doing and here's what I've done. And I'm kind of tired of talking about me and what I've done and all. I'd rather either show you guys some stuff or I have an idea for something coming up here soon. I'm still working out the details of to show you stuff that other people are doing. And talk to other people, interview other artists and stuff. But that'll probably be a separate channel. This channel I'm going to retain for showing work that I'm working on and explaining how it is that it's being worked on. And we're going to try that out for a while and see if it's enjoyable to make and enjoyable for y'all to watch. Again, let me know if you do like it, you want to see more stuff that I'm doing, hit subscribe. If you want to watch more videos that I've already made, they pop up here towards the end. So y'all have a good day and stay safe, stay warm. Now it's winter time. See you later.